Chapter 865. Roar. The 15-meter-long behemoth landed on the open space in front of the Luo River Estuary Fortress's meeting hall, causing a group of Imperial guards to draw their swords. They only let down their guard when they saw that the person riding on the dragon's back was Lin Muyu. Tang Xiaoxi, Qin Yan, Tu Yao, and the others rushed out of the hall and laughed when they saw the scene. "Did you kill it?" asked Tang Xiaoxi. "Yes, I did." Lin Muyu spread out his hands, revealing two sparkling and translucent divine sparks. He smiled and said, "I'm going to break through to the ultimate god realm today. I'll refine this divine king's divine spark myself, and I'll give the mortal spark to you, Xiaoxi." "Alright, thank you, my dear." When Tang Xiaoxi said "my dear," she blushed. Wei Chou, Situsen and the others laughed. Chu Yao said, What do you plan to do with this dragon? Didn't we capture a dragon knight alive before? Did you manage to pry out the secret of the dragon knights from his mouth?" "Yes." Wei Chou nodded. "The form of the oath between a dragon knight and a dragon is a little different from our beast taming technique. It requires a ritual and bloodline resonance. How does your highness plan to deal with this fire law dragon?" "It's mine." Situsen walked forward and held the dragon's special reins. "Your highness has agreed to let me become a dragon knight." Lin Muyu smiled and asked, "Do you know about the dragon knight's oath?" "I do. I'm going to take it to the mountain to carry out the oath and bloodline resonance. Now, I can't wait a moment longer." Situsen's eyes were burning with passion. The Imperial army had already learned how powerful a dragon knight was. Now, if there was a dragon knight general in the Imperial army, it would be a great boost to the morale of the Imperial army. Moreover, it would also be a kind of mockery to the Tianji Empire. It would be a great blow to their morale. "Then go." Lin Muyu jumped down from the dragon's back and gave the water dragon to Situsenator. She then smiled and said, "Let's go in and have breakfast. I'll continue cultivating after that." Situsen roared as he rode on the dragon's back and soared upwards. However, this fire dragon seemed to be very unruly and it rolled a few times in the air trying to throw Situsen off. However, this person's cultivation was extremely high, and he had already reached the divine heaven realm, which was enough to suppress this newly matured fire dragon. It was impossible for him to throw Situsen off. Chu Yao's culinary skills were as good as ever. After eating her fill, Lin Muyu immediately returned to her secret room and continued to cultivate. The refining cauldron surrounded by golden flames was taken out. When Lin Muyu put Su Zhao's godhead into it, it immediately made crackling sounds and flashed with lightning. After all, this was a godhead cultivated to the divine king realm. Even a mortal's godhead would be very difficult to refine. The lightning divine power inside was very vigorous, and it gave off a sense of ferocity that could counterattack at any time. Lin Muyu wasn't afraid of the godhead's counterattack. Even Su Xiao wasn't a match for her, and this godhead only contained half of Su Zhao's strength at most. There was nothing to be afraid of. Thus, she took out the refining fire and began the long refining process. It wasn't until the evening that the godhead finally began to disintegrate. Pieces of its outer shell started to peel off, and the azure spiritual power within it turned into strands of the law of lightning's divine power that flew up from the treasured refining cauldron. Then it was drawn into Lin Muyu's beer. Lin Muyu clenched his fists and a wheel seemed to appear around his body. He used the shapeless elephant art to protect himself, and the backlash from the godhead was completely subdued before it could retaliate. Along with a sizzling sound, strands of lightning darted around his body before they were absorbed, refined, and absorbed. This process lasted for close to 2 hours and the godhead became less and less. Under the repeated refinement of the spirit refinement art, more than 30% of the godhead's energy had been converted into Lin Muyu's own. In an instant, the Supreme Godhead's divine power in his Qi became extremely majestic and vigorous. The moment he finished refining it, not only did he not feel tired, but he also felt as if he was filled to the brim with energy. It was time to break through to the ultimate god realm. He took a deep breath and said to Bai Yin, who was outside through the stone door, "No one, no matter what, is allowed to disturb me until I finish my cultivation." "Yes, your subordinate obeys," Bai Yin said in a low voice. Ever since he submitted to Lin Muyu, Bai Yin's official rank was getting higher and higher. Although the quality of his life might not be better than when he was a thief, at least he no longer had a guilty conscience. He now felt that every day was very fulfilling and happy. Apart from worrying about being killed by the emperor god of the Tianji Empire, there was nothing else that made him unhappy. The breakthrough in cultivation had begun. He calmed his breath and divided the divine power in his body into two parts. One entered the EC and the other was stored in the Qi Si. The hidden gate in the Qi Si was like a shiny fruit embedded in the Qi Si. Only by breaking and tearing this hidden gate could he break through to the next grotto heaven realm. However, Lin Muyu knew how strong this hidden gate was. He had tried 7 or 8 times but he still couldn't break through. Suddenly, the waves in the Qi Si were tens of thousands of feet high. The rich supreme divine power was like a surging river. The divine power flowed through the meridians in his body and finally broke through the hidden gate. The first layer. The second layer. The third layer. Under the continuous attacks, by the 28th time, Lin Muyu was already very tired. His forehead was full of sweat, his sword-like eyebrows were tightly knitted and his eyes were closed. He broke through. The 29th attack. Bang! The waves of divine power once again broke through the hidden gate in one go, but the veins on Lin Muyu's face were already bulging. He was on the verge of breaking down but he didn't give up. He knew that his potential had not been fully developed and he could still bear more power. Now was the time to fight. If he didn't put his life on the line, how could he do things that others couldn't? The 30th attack. His Qi Si was surging and the meridians in his body were on the verge of breaking through. Lin Muyu clenched his teeth and cold sweat dripped down his forehead. He felt as if he was placed in a furnace and every part of his body was burning with unbearable pain. Every single one of his meridians was on the verge of exploding. Enduring the pain, he summoned the strongest energy in his body to break through the hidden gate. In his EC, the Supreme Being Lattice shone brightly. When Lin Muyu was breaking through the hidden gate, the Supreme Being Lattice was also frantically urging its god force to help its master. Just when Lin Muyu was on the verge of breaking through, a new surge of energy gushed out from the Supreme Being Lattice, becoming the last straw that crushed the mountain. Boom! His mind was clear and the hidden gate in his Qi Si had disappeared. His god force was like a raging river, and at the same time, a strange energy was flowing through his meridians. Lin Muyu could feel its existence. He slowly opened his eyes and lightly opened his palm, shouting in a low voice, "Come out, let me see." Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Rays of dazzling golden light condensed around his body, forming a natural protective wall. It was the divine wall. It can't be real, right? Lin Muyu was ecstatic. Every cultivator who broke through to the hierarch realm and entered the 30th heavenly cave would have a certain chance of awakening the divine wall's ability. However, the chance was very low, less than 10%. Therefore, most cultivators were unable to control the divine wall. However, it just so happened that Lin Muyu had obtained this ability. He didn't know if it was because of the Supreme Being Lattice or if it was because of him, but it didn't matter anymore. The most important thing was that after obtaining the divine wall's ability, his defensive ability would be greatly enhanced. The divine wall's power was far greater than the gourd wall and the dragon blood battle shield. However, if the divine wall had these two defensive abilities, Lin Muyu's defensive ability would reach an indestructible level. At least it would be impossible for experts of the same level to hurt Lin Muyu. He heaved a sigh of relief and suppressed his ecstasy. He asked, "Bai-yin, what time is it?" "It's just dark, Your Highness." "Oh, it's already dark." Lin Muyu continued to ask, "Is there any news from Yunzhong province and the Tongtian Gorge?" "Not yet, but the items that Your Highness sent to the Tongtian Gorge should be in Marshal Qianfeng's hands. According to the speed of the Warhawk scouts, they should be there by now. Moreover, there's a fierce battle in the Tongtian Gorge now. I'm not sure if Qianfeng can receive it." "I hope so." At that moment, what else could he do other than trusting Qianfeng? Boom, boom. Purple shockwaves from the Tongtian Gorge reverberated in the air. It was the winged men's suicidal attack. However, it didn't seem to have much effect as there were too many dragon knights in the sky. "Rely on the mountainous terrain for defense. Cavalry return." Qianfeng ordered loudly, but the sounds of fighting on the plains in the distance were continuous. Those southern iron cavalry did not hear it, and most likely they would not be able to return. In this battle they would lose at least another 5,000 demon troops. Amidst the scattered footsteps, a young demon general holding a blood-stained sword walked over shakily. His face was covered in blood. Behind him were more than 10 high-ranking demon generals. Their eyes were filled with tears. The young general said in a trembling voice, "Marshal Qianfeng, the attack of the flowing spirit core is too fierce. If we keep fighting like this, the last bloodline of the god race will be destroyed." "Lan He, I know. Qianfeng sat quietly on the rocks covered with blood and said, "But we don't have a choice. If we don't fight, the god race will still be destroyed. You know that." Lan He gritted his teeth and said, "But Marshal Baiming Huan has already sent envoys to negotiate for peace. As long as we surrender to the Tianji Empire, we can avoid this disaster and keep the bloodline of the god race." Lan He. Qianfeng's voice was harsh. "Then do you know Baiming Huan's conditions? He wants us to give the young lady of the Nan family to one of their generals as a wife, and he wants us to choose 50,000 god race people to build a city for them. This is impossible. The god race that I, Qianfeng, will never be slaves to others." Lan He was stunned. Another general said, "But Marshal, we are here working for the Qin Empire, while those nobles of the Qin Empire are watching from the sidelines and enjoying Xiaoyao's life. Have they ever thought about our god race? Do they really think of us as their own people? If Lin Muyu really cherishes the agreement with the god race, she should send an army out of the Luo River and attack Baiming Huan from the front and the back." "Yes, Marshal, human beings can never be trusted," the other generals also said. Qianfeng sat alone in the pool of blood, his eyes lost. At this moment even he was a little hesitant. Were Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi really trustworthy? At this moment, there was a sound of wings flapping in the air. It was a warhawk scout. He jumped off the back of the warhawk holding a portal bag in his hand and said, "Marshal Qianfeng, His Highness King Qin has a letter and some gifts for you." Chapter 866. "What is it?" a group of demon generals asked in surprise. Qianfeng opened the space bag and suddenly items were displayed in front of him. They were armors and battle robes. There were a total of 10 custom-made white robes made by Imperial Forest. The purple flower rust on them was very fine. They were all carefully made by the palace servants in Zetian Palace. In addition, there was a golden collar robe which was exactly the same as what Lin Muyu had worn before. It was a king's cloak. What does this mean?" Lan He asked. Qianfeng looked at the robes and said, "It's probably a hint from Her Highness Lin Muyu, but I don't quite understand what it means." Lan He said, "Isn't there another letter?" Qianfeng hurriedly opened the letter. There were lines of calligraphy on it and it was written by Lin Muyu. Although his calligraphy was not a master, the vigor and strength revealed by his 10 years of military career was enough to explain everything. The handwriting was clear and the lines of words were reflected in the eyes of Qianfeng and a group of demon generals. "How can it be said that there is no clothing? Together with my son, the king sends troops to repair my spear. Together with my son. How can it be said that there is no clothing? Together with my son, the king sends troops to repair my spear and halberd. Together with my son. How can it be said that there is no clothing? Together with my son, the king sends troops to repair my armor and soldiers. Together with my son." This was a poem from the pre-Qin dynasty's Wind of Qin, without clothes. Lin Muyu used this poem to describe the current situation. The invasion of the Tianji bandits was like a calamity that swept across the vast land that the Qin Empire and the demon race relied on for survival. The poem was impassioned and filled with the same hatred for the common enemy. The devil race generals were dumbfounded, each and every one of them recalling the crushing defeat in the northern snowy plains. The devil race Emperor Feng Yuan and the 2 princesses had died together, and even ended up with their heads separated from their bodies. This was a disgrace to the devil race and also a disgrace to the entire god race. Lan He's eyes were red and tears came out of his eyes. He said in a trembling voice, "Lin Muyu, does he really think of us as comrades?" Qianfeng clenched his fists and murmured, "These robes and armors represent Her Highness Lin Muyu's heart. Do we need more proof? Come, all captaincy-level generals, put on the clothes of the empire. We are fighting for the god race and also for the Qin Empire. Since our king has passed, let them welcome our new king. She is Qin Yin, the true master of this shattered cauldron realm." Yes. The group of generals put on the white robes and armors of the imperial forest one after another. As for Qianfeng, he put on the rusted golden robe that had been prepared for him. He mounted the horse and pulled out the sword from his waist. After that he growled at the crowd, "Retreat. Retreat to the second pass. Send the remaining 5,000 armor demons to hide in the jungle on the left side of the second pass. Listen to my command. Once they arrive, 100 wingmen will launch magic crystal attacks from the air to attract the attention of the Dragon Knights. At the same time, the Armor Demon Legion will charge out and crush the Tiger Leopard Cavalry that they are so proud of. I want the Tianji Empire to know the power of the God race." "Yes, Marshal." The sounds of battle rose into the sky. Under Qian Feng's command, a battle of race and glory was being carried out in an orderly manner. The fierce battle lasted until late at night. Both sides suffered losses and withdrew their troops. In the starry night, the 10 miles of land outside the Sky Gorge was the camp of the Liuji army. In the central tent, a group of dancers from the Tianji Empire were dancing gracefully, while Baiming Huan was drinking with a group of generals. Although he had stepped into the god realm as an emperor god, Baiming Huan had never given up the pleasures of the human world, and it was precisely because of this state of mind that he continued to serve as the marshal of the empire. Report. A messenger flew into the tent and reported respectfully, "Reporting to Marshal, the army that attacked the Heaven's Gorge has returned." "What's the result?" Baiming Huan held a beautiful concubine in his arms and slowly moved his hands on her snow-white legs. He asked without looking up. Both sides suffered losses. The former general reported that they killed more than 40,000 of Qianfeng's men in the Sky Gorge. "What about us?" "More than 11,000 were killed and 20,000 were wounded." "A bunch of trash." Baiming Huan suddenly threw the wine cup on the ground and said angrily, "A mere Sky Gorge and they still couldn't take it down after 3 days and even lost tens of thousands of my men. What a bunch of trash. Is Qianfeng even more powerful than Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing?" The messenger was so scared that he was trembling and did not dare to say anything else. On the side, Gong Xiangming said respectfully, "Marshal, please calm down. We need to think about this further." "Think about what further?" Baiming Huan was already angry. "Back then we got the news that the demons under Qianfeng were beaten back by Lin Muyu and Wei Chou. Otherwise they wouldn't have been almost wiped out by us in the frozen polar ground. An inferior demon that was almost wiped out actually managed to hold out for so long. What is this?" Gong Xiangming's eyes were calm as he said, "Marshal, you may not know this, but in fact Qianfeng is not a simple person. As far as I know, 8 years ago when the demons were at their peak, the Armor Demon Army led by Qianfeng defeated Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing, and almost forced the Qin army to surrender. If not for Lin Muyu's efforts to turn the tide, I'm afraid our only opponent now would be the demons. Qianfeng's strategy is not below Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing's, and his reputation among the demons is like the sun in the sky. With him personally guarding the Tongtian Gorge, his defensive ability naturally cannot be underestimated." Baiming Huan was shaking with anger. "Mr. Gong, it's easy for you to say. Did you know that His Majesty sent me a letter yesterday ordering me to wipe out Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing as soon as possible, and take down all the 8 provinces that the Qin army has occupied? But now North Ridge Province, Seven Seas Province, Songnan Province, Tianshu Province, Earthstar Province, and Lingdong Province are all still in their hands. I've only occupied Cloud Province and Sky Reaching Province, and that's not all. Just the Dragon Knights alone have died in battle, and if we can't take them down after a long time, how can I explain to His Majesty when I get back?" Gong Xiangming held the fan in his hand, looking at Baiming Huan quietly. "Why are you looking at me like that?" Baiming Huan was a little uncomfortable. Gong Xiangming smiled. "That will depend on how the marshal plans on accomplishing this feat." "Why do you say that?" "You also know that our army is just an expeditionary force that has traveled thousands of miles to come here, and our logistical supplies are far inferior to the other side. The reason why we can stand in Sky Reaching Province now is that we have plundered their food reserves and forcibly taken from the people. But now, as you can see, the food reserves of the 13 prefectures in Sky Reaching Province have almost been used up by us, and the original residents are also loyal to the Qin family, not to the Tianji Empire. The forced expropriation has led to a huge loss of population. If we continue to fight like this, I'm afraid that Sky Reaching Province will soon become a province without people. Commander, conquering the Broken Cauldron world and the Qin army is far more difficult than we thought. We have to calm down first and then we can make our opponents panic." Gong Xiangming's words were like pearls of wisdom. Baiming Huan frowned and said, Alright, then what do you want to teach us, Mr. Gong? What do you think we should do now? It's very simple. Farm and rest. The whole East Sea is under our control and we can send endless supplies from the Tianji Empire. In the long run, in a year at most, the supplies in the sky-reaching gorge will be used up, and Qianfeng's troops can only wait for death. In addition, we can contact the Blackstone Empire and attack the Bronze Helmet Mountain range controlled by Lin Muyu from the south, cutting off the source of iron and food for Winter Frost City. Then we won't have to worry about Lin Muyu not being defeated. Once Lin Muyu is defeated, the Lingdong province will be under our control. In this way we can open up all the provinces in the east and join forces with the Blackstone Empire and slowly push forward. How many heads does Lin Muyu have for us to chop off? Gong Xiangming smiled and continued, but all of this needs time, at least a year, at most a decade. It all depends on whether you have the patience to wait for the victory to come. Yes. Bai Minghuan also smiled. Sir, your words are very enlightening. Thank you for your teachings. Come, let me toast to you. You are too polite, General. Gong Xiangming narrowed his eyes and suddenly said, General, someone sent us a message tonight. Dragon Knight Su Xiao and Dragon Knight Wang, who were killed when they were patrolling the steel wall. It was most likely Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi. In my opinion, we need to punish them. I suggest you write a letter to His Majesty, asking him to send an edict to Xikong Ming, ordering the Tianji Martial School to send a group of powerful warriors to the Shattered Tripod World. If possible, if Xikong Ming can come in person, then the result will be set. Bai Minghuan nodded. All right, I will do it tomorrow. At this time, in the Devil Palm Mountains thousands of miles away, it was all quiet. The meeting hall was brightly lit and a group of people were sitting there, but they were not drinking and playing like usual. On the captain's throne, Lu Bai was wearing a soft armor with the Bai Zhe emblem on his chest. That was the emblem of the Bai Zhe mercenary band. Right now, Lu Bai was no longer the same as before. His eyes were calm and composed, and an unprecedented confidence appeared on him. Beside him sat the beautiful Si Kongyao, wearing a delicate soft armor with the same emblem on her chest. Say it again. Lu Bai said lightly. A mercenary with a protruding mouth and monkey cheeks said, Captain, the latest news is that the Cloud province of the Shattered Cauldron realm has fallen. The northern Duke Luo Xian has died in battle. He was killed by a battle angel called Dora. In addition, including the Clear Sky province, the Eight Desolations province and the High Sky province, the Qin army of the Shattered Cauldron realm has already successively been occupied by 4 great provinces. How could this be? His Highness shouldn't be so weak. Lu Bai was a little distraught. Big Brother won't be defeated so easily. Si Kongyao's bright eyes shone with a cold light as she said, It's just that the disparity is too great. Bu Yi, let's start attacking the surrounding counties tomorrow. The Bai Zhe mercenary band already has 100,000 people. We have the ability to attack the counties. In any case, most of the troops of the Blackstone Empire have gone to the Shattered Cauldron realm. The ones left behind will be guarding the imperial capital and the borders with the Celestial Empire. Yes. Lu Bai nodded and said, Young miss, is there any news from the Celestial Empire? His Highness said that he had a secret agreement with the second prince of the Celestial Empire, Qinyu. Now that the Shattered Cauldron realm is in danger, Qinyu shouldn't just sit by and watch. Si Kongyao nodded and said, Yes, Qinyu has stationed 1,000,000 soldiers at the border, and he's forced the Tianji Empire to send the majority of the 2 great armies, the Lanji Corps and the Yinji Corps, over there. Even big sister Shang Qian's maternal grandfather, old General Zhang Qing, has gone to the border as well. Qinyu must be waiting for the news of Big Brother's defeat to arrive, and then he'll launch an attack. I just don't know if he'll attack the Tianji Empire first or the Darkstone Empire first. Then, when are we going to cause trouble? Cause trouble? That's right. If they don't cause trouble, why would they start fighting? Bai Mingyuan and Qinyu are both calm people. They won't use their weapons. As long as we are willing to cause trouble, there's no need to worry that they won't start fighting. However, Si Kongyao pouted and said, I won't do this. Why? Lu Bai didn't understand. No matter what, I'm a citizen of the Tianji Empire. I can lead troops to attack the cities of the Blackstone Empire, but I can never make a move against the army of the Tianji Empire. Si Kongyao was unhappy and said, The only thing I'm worried about is that His Majesty Bai Mingyuan will order grandfather to go to the Shattered Cauldron realm. If grandfather makes a move, big brother will. Don't worry. Lu Bai smiled faintly and said, Old Master Sikong Ming is one of the top god emperors. He has eyes and ears everywhere. Do you think he doesn't know that you have such a good relationship with His Highness? I think that the old master definitely won't personally kill the person that his granddaughter likes. After all, he doesn't want you to hate him for the rest of your life. I didn't. Sikong Yao's face was completely red. Lu Bai glanced at her and said, You don't even know how to lie. Learn more from me in the future. However, since Big Miss isn't willing to cause trouble, then let me do it. However, I need to use the people that you've roped in from the Tianji sect. Otherwise, ordinary Bai Zhe mercenaries won't be able to complete that kind of mission. That's up to you. You're the leader, so you can deploy them yourself. Tomorrow we'll attack the cities first. I want to cause chaos in the Blackstone Empire from within and then collapse them. We'll do our best to help Big Brother reduce the pressure on the Shattered Cauldron realm. Alright, that's exactly what I'm thinking. Chapter 867. To the north of the Qinling Mountains, the flames of war raged. On the contrary, the Lingnan region was exceptionally tranquil. After lying dormant for nearly 7 days, the Blackstone Empire's army didn't make any moves. Within the Xingtian Pass, banners covered the sky. 25,000 soldiers from the Xin Corps were already stationed in the pass. In addition, there were close to 90,000 soldiers under Xiang Yu's command. Fortunately, Xin didn't order Xiang Yu to change the flag and still allowed him to keep the Zine flower flag. There was an endless stream of people coming and going in the government office. There were messengers riding on warhorses and personnel busy with logistics. In the brightly lit hall, Xin, Terralin, Xiang Yu, Ding Shi and the others sat around a table with solemn expressions. After killing Yao Yuan, Dora killed Duke Luo Exin in the Cloud Province. Terralin frowned and said, It seems that Dora has completely broken off relations with us and intends to go her own way. So be it. Xin's expression was indifferent. Xiang Yu looked at Xin with a sharp gaze, but saw that her expression was normal, as if Luo Exion's death didn't matter at all. He couldn't help but ask, Madam Xin, could it be that you really don't remember who Luo Exin is? Who is Luo Exin? Xin asked in return. He can be considered your uncle, the adopted son of Su Muyun, and Su Muyun is your maternal grandfather. Xin smiled and said, Madam Xiang Yu, let me say this again. I'm not Qin Yin. I'm Xin from the land of exile, the younger sister of the blazing angel Shi Yan. As for the Qin Yin you speak of, I have no impression at all. If I'm really Qin Yin, how can I not recognize my own homeland? Ding Shi coughed and said, Duke Nan, I think you should give up. Madam Xin might really not be the empress, or she really doesn't remember at all. It's useless to interrogate her like this. Xiang Yu was silent. What? Lord Xiang Yu is regretting it? Xin smiled and asked, If I weren't Qin Yin, you wouldn't have opened the city gate and surrendered, would you? Yes. Xiang Yu did not deny it and said, I originally thought that Lord Xin was Her Highness the female empress, which was why I offered up the city pass. If Lord Xin wasn't Her Highness the female empress, then this trip of mine would be equivalent to treason. Terralin smiled, squinted her eyes and asked, Xiang Yu, now the situation is very clear. Lord Xin is not Qin Yin. According to the customs of the Qin people, should you draw your sword and commit suicide? Xiang Yu was rendered speechless, his face alternating between pale and green. However, Xin smiled and said, Terralin, don't tease him. Lord Xiang Yu, even though I am not Qin Yin, I don't wish to see this land stained with blood. The Blackstone Empire is cruel and violent, and their actions are against my wishes. As long as I am here, I will not allow the Blackstone Empire to take another step forward. This is my promise to you. Xiang Yu cupped his fists and said, Then, I thank Lord Xin on behalf of the common people of Lingnan. Right at this moment, the sound of war drums could be heard from outside. What's the matter? Xin asked. A garrison officer dashed in swiftly and cupped his fists as he said, Lords, the beast cavalries of the Darkstone Empire have already arrived outside the city, and the commander of the Dark Flame Army, Fu Yu, is calling for a fight and asking us to go out and speak. The corner of Xin's mouth curled up. Everyone follow me out to take a look. It was the middle of May and the weather was getting warmer. Flowers were blooming outside the city, and the whole mountain was covered with white wildflowers. There was even a faint fragrance that came with the wind, making people feel relaxed and happy. However, the Xingtian Pass was densely covered with flags, making it hard for people to distinguish which kind of wildflower the fragrance belonged to. On the city wall, Xin, Terralin, and the other battle angels floated out and stood majestically in the air. Xiang Yu, Ding Shi, and the other human generals appeared on the city gate with their guards, watching the invading enemy from afar. Below the city, at least 50,000 Blue Flame army formed a square formation of 400 people. The cavalry was outside with spears and shields, and the archers were inside. The tip of the nearly 3-meter-long iron spear glowed with a faint cold light as it pointed straight at the city wall. The soldiers with heavy shields kept hitting the shields with their padeos and shouted in unison, "Blue Wolf! Blue Wolf! Blue Wolf!" The Blue Wolf was an aggressive wolf race. Moreover, they lived in packs and there would definitely be more than 100 of them. They were greedy, cunning, and had the same style as the Blackstone Empire. Therefore, the Blackstone Empire's army had always called themselves the Blue Wolves. Although they were few in number, they could stand on equal footing with the other two empires due to their cruelty and strength. At the front of the formation, Fuyu rode a black horse and held a steel blade in his hand. He looked at the city wall proudly and raised his blade. He shouted, "Open the city gate immediately. I can guarantee that there won't be a massacre. If anyone dares to resist, the day the city is breached will be the day of the massacre." Ding Shi's robe fluttered in the wind. He held his sword and said with a smile, "Fuyu, if you have the guts, come and attack the city. I really want to know if your dragon knights are really omnipotent." At this moment, Ding Shi's backing was the Angel Corps. There were 7 battle angels and 10,000 soldiers from the land of exile. He was not afraid of Fuyu's army at all. Moreover, Fuyu was Ding Shi's mortal enemy. In fact, Ding Shi wanted to take revenge for Long Qianlin, but he had to rely on Xin's power. Therefore it was best to provoke Fuyu. "Ding Shi, you defeated army, you have no right to speak to me," Fuyu shouted. At this moment Xin, Terralin, and the others appeared in the sky above the city. Xin closed her eyes and the battle angel robe behind her fluttered in the wind. Her voice wasn't loud, but almost everyone in the fertile field could hear her clearly. "Fuyu, this divine heaven fortress has been occupied by me. Go somewhere else." Fuyu was startled. "Lord Xin?" He couldn't figure it out no matter how hard he thought about it. He couldn't help but feel a little angry as he said, "Lord Xi'in, you're the battle angel sent by the Western God realm to help our heavenly pole continent. Why are you always helping those trash from the Shattered Cauldron realm?" "I'm not helping them. I just can't tolerate your killing and insolence." Xi'in gently raised her hand and drew the star's sword. She said, "Fuyu, take your men and leave immediately. If you don't leave in an hour, then I'll assume that you've decided to start a war with the Battle Angel Legion. I won't be polite then." Fuyu's eyes widened. What kind of logic is this? "Lord Xin, are you openly disobeying the will of Lord Claude?" "I am not. I am just protecting the common people as a god." Xin's closed eyes could vaguely see golden flames spreading. She murmured, "Gods should not be reduced to killing machines. You are gods, not demons. If you fall into the abyss and become demons, I will kill you on behalf of the light. Now if you want to attack the city, let's begin." Shi Yin's words left no room for negotiation. Fuyu and the other generals were dumbfounded. "Commander, she is too much." A captaincy couldn't help but say, "That's right, Commander. This woman is simply unreasonable. Why don't we give it our all? The Blue Flame army has at least 150,000 soldiers. I don't believe that we can't kill a mere battle angel." The deputy commander seconded. Fuyu, on the other hand, had experienced Shi Yin's prowess and knew how terrifying the flaming eyes were. He used to be a valiant general, but now he was a little timid. He raised his hand and said, "There's no hurry. Immediately send someone to see Marshal Bailey Qin and ask him to decide if we should attack the city or not." Then what about our front line? "Retreat 5 kilometers. "Yes." The army below the city began to retreat slowly. Xiangyu couldn't help but exclaim happily, "They're retreating. Lord Xin is mighty. Just your aura alone is enough to make these wolves retreat without a fight." "It's just a temporary retreat." Xin's voice was indifferent. Ding Shi nodded as well, and his gaze was deep as he looked at the Darkstone Empire's army that covered the heavens and the earth. He said, "The Darkstone Empire has exhausted all its strength in this expedition. It's impossible for them to return without accomplishing anything. Lord Xian alone is unable to stop the Darkstone Empire's iron hooves of conquest. I think Bailey Qin will arrive soon. That's right. Xiangyu gripped his bloodthirst spear tightly and frowned. The situation was far more complicated than everyone had imagined. It was almost impossible for the Blackstone Empire to give up on conquering the Shattered Cauldron realm. In the air, a cool breeze ruffled Terralin's and Sheen's hair. The two looked at each other in silence. After a long time, Terralin said, Bailey Qin will probably be here soon. That's right. Bailey Qin isn't that simple. He's much stronger than the other marshal, Bai Minghuan. Even though they are both god emperors, Bailey Qin has 87 grotto heavens while Bai Minghuan is only 62. The difference is like heaven and earth. Qin Xin, do you really want to be enemies with a god like Bailey Qin? I don't know either. Xian nodded while her eyelashes fluttered lightly a few times. She said, but I can't just watch as the Darkstone Empire tramples over this place. I can't just watch as they swing their butcher's knives at those defenseless commoners. I think what Xiangyu and Ding Shi said might be true. I might really be someone else. But I just can't remember. Why do you say that? Terralin was shocked. I can't explain it clearly. Xian bit her red lips and said, but I can feel that there's something in my bloodline that's connected to this land. In fact, when I was in Linghan City I felt a strange sense of déjà vu. I've been to that city before. On a certain day on a certain year, but now I can only watch as that city is reduced to a sea of fire. She groaned in pain. Her body shivered and curled up. She no longer looked like the invincible level 7 golden-winged battle angel Sheen with the eyes of blazing dawn. Poor girl. Terralin stepped forward and hugged her shoulders. You don't have to worry too much. No matter who you are or what your position is, we will always support you. At least, I, Terralin, will always stand by your side because we will always be friends. Sheen nodded slightly. Thank you, Terralin. Terralin frowned. I really hope you're not her. Otherwise, I really don't know what crazy things I will do in the future. I'm afraid I will betray my family and disappoint my father. But I think I should do this. This is my godhood and one of the reasons why I support you. Killing is not what a god should do. Chapter 868. What? Sheen is stationed in the Divine Heaven Fortress. Bailey Qin stared at Fu Yu and his subordinates in astonishment as he stood in front of the map. What's going on? Why is Sheen standing in front of us? If we don't conquer the Divine Heaven Fortress, we won't be able to advance any further. This subordinate doesn't know either. Fu Yu frowned. It seems that Sheen is also interested in conquering this continent. She has gathered more than 20,000 people and called themselves the Sheen Legion. Currently, the Sheen Legion is the main force guarding the Divine Heaven Fortress. Does this battle angel want to be the ruler of the Shattered Cauldron realm? Bailey Qin couldn't help but laugh. Interesting. I wonder if Lord Claude of the Western Divine Realm will laugh or cry when he hears this news. Marshal, what should we do now? Dragon Rider Han Shu asked. This is not good. Bailey Qin frowned. If the battle angel really occupies the Divine Heaven Fortress, we can't do it by force. If the Blackstone Empire attacks the Divine Heaven Fortress, we will be accused of disobeying the Divine Realm. After all, the battle angel represents the will of the Lord Ruler. Moreover, the members of this battle angel team aren't simple. Terralin is the successor of the Radiant clan. Lake is the son of the Darklight clan's patriarch, Zhou Xian, Da Vinci, and the others aren't simple either. If we fight, we won't be fighting a battle angel team, but the major clans behind the Western Divine Realm. Their combined forces are enough to control half of the Western Divine Realm. Even the Lord Ruler will be wary of them. This. Han Shu frowned. If that's the case, then we can't conquer the Divine Heaven Fortress. We can only choose to attack the dragon-slaying pass. However, that Su Jiantao is a bit tricky. He's a cunning guy. We already suffered a great loss in his hands. What's there to be afraid of? Bailey Qin laughed coldly. Don't forget, we still have a total of 200,000 soldiers in our hands, and we also have 82 dragon knights. With this kind of strength, we can completely crush the dragon-slaying pass and kill all of Su Jiantao's troops. Marshal is wise. This subordinate will go and assemble the troops. We will attack Dragon-slaying pass in 2 days. Fu Yu was overjoyed. Don't worry. Bailey Qin's gaze was like lightning as he said, we can't be rash this time. We'll send a few deity-level experts into the dragon-slaying pass in disguise. It won't be too late to make a move after getting a clear grasp of the situation. This time I want to be absolutely safe. We definitely can't fall for that despicable Su Jiantao's tricks again. In addition, leave 10,000 men to guard outside the Xingtian Pass to restrain the Xin Legion. Yes, Marshal. In the Western Divine Realm, a spiritual mountain shrouded in fog was radiating with light. The Western Divine Realm held a grand meeting every year. Clan heads from various planes as well as some gods with outstanding cultivation would gather here. Ruler Claude was precisely using this grand meeting to understand the movements of the various clans. After all, there were too many gods in the Western Divine Realm, and it was impossible to control them all. In the evening, Xian appeared in the Divine Palace and said respectfully, "Lord Ruler, the 17 clan heads are already waiting in the guest hall. Alright, we'll head over now." Claude turned around and the light on his face slowly dissipated. To her astonishment, it was an extremely handsome male face. However, Xian's gaze was indifferent. After following Claude for so many years, she was already used to this face. Moreover, with Xian's cultivation, she had long since grown accustomed to the appearance of a physical person. No matter how handsome a man was, in her eyes he was just flesh and blood. The guest hall was located on the west side of the spiritual mountain where the Hall of Ruler was located. It was a very simple and unadorned building, but it had a long history. It could even be traced back to the War of the Gods 100,000 years ago. 13 god emperors had conspired to kill Ares, the king of all gods in the Western Divine Realm. At that time, Claude had been one of the 13 god emperors. When Claude, Xian and Eva appeared in the guest hall, they saw that the hall was filled with lit candles. A dozen clan heads in white robes sat in their respective seats. Some of these clan heads were very young, while others were very old with white hair and beards. Only a few of them were young. Some of them had lived for so long that they could live forever, but their faces were still slowly aging over the course of tens of thousands of years. Everyone stood up and said respectfully, "Greetings, Lord Ruler." "Greetings, Lord Blazing Angel Xian, Lord Blazing Angel Eva." "Dispense with the formalities." Claude gracefully sat down in the host's seat, smiled and said, "My lords, you've all worked hard. It is our duty to work for the divine capital." Everyone took their seats with Xian and Eva sitting on either side of Claude. Claude's gaze swept across the clan heads and a handsome smile appeared on his face as he said, "I've invited everyone here for a secret meeting before the big meeting. In fact, there's only one thing." "Oh. Please speak, Lord Ruler." A white-robed elder said with a smile. "Thank you, Lord Talon." Claude cleared his throat and said, "The last divine war was a few years ago when we went to war with East Heaven. Everyone should have heard of this matter. Many clans also participated in that divine war, and this divine war could only be considered a draw. We and East Heaven both lost many gods. East Heaven lost 3 emperor gods, 27 god kings, and nearly 1,000 ultimate gods, while we lost 18 four-winged angels and nearly 2,000 two-winged angels. After this war, divine capital can be said to have suffered heavy losses, and there is a shortage of talents. Therefore, the purpose of this meeting is to hope that the major clans can transfer a part of their strength to divine capital, under my direct command." This light clan head Talon was a little hesitant, frowned and said, "Lord Ruler, there has been no news of my daughter Terralyn since she participated in the Chosen God trial. This subordinate only learned a few days ago that her name has disappeared from the Western Divine Realms roster. I don't know where my daughter went. Terralyn hasn't returned yet and you want her again? This is a little inappropriate. It's not easy for the major clans to cultivate talents." A group of clan heads nodded. Yes. Another old clan head said, "My son Lake also disappeared after the Chosen God trial. I heard some rumors that they joined the Battle Angel squad and were exiled from the Western Divine Realm. I don't know if it's true." The corner of Claude's mouth raised. "Yes, it's true. The Western Divine Realm has always cherished talents. Terralyn, Lake and the others are the outstanding generation of the Western Divine Realm, so I exiled them and let them train outside the Divine Realm. I think the patriarchs will understand." His attitude was a little overbearing, implying that it didn't matter if they understood or not, but they had to understand. Talon was exasperated, but after a sigh he remained silent. The other elders also had indifferent expressions on their faces. Claude's eyes turned cold. What? When the divine capital needs the loyalty of the major clans, have you all retreated? Don't forget that no egg can remain intact when the nest is turned upside down. The Seven Luminaries Demon Emperor of East Heaven is a crazy person. His desire to destroy the Western Divine Realm hasn't died. Once the divine capital is destroyed, do you think you can keep your fiefdoms? Talon coughed. Ruler, you misunderstand. It's not that we don't want to be loyal, but we really don't have much strength left. Is that so? Claude smiled. But I heard that the major clans have produced many talents in recent years. Let's take Lord Talon's Radiance clan for example. In the past 3,000 years, you have produced a total of 7 god emperors, more than 100 god kings and countless godly venerables. Does this count as having no strength? Talon's expression darkened. The other patriarchs were also silent. It was obvious that Claude was digging up their flesh, and it was something they couldn't refuse. After a while, Claude said, the 17 clans here must each provide 20 god kings and 100 godly venerables to serve in the divine capital next month. You have to do it whether you want to or not. This is your responsibility as vassals. As he said that, Claude's eyes were like sharp swords. Xian, you will be in charge of accepting these talents. If there are any clans that haven't completed this task by the end of next month, Xian, you can lead the divine capital army to annihilate them. Even if you have to destroy an entire realm, it's not like you haven't done this before. Xian nodded. Yes, my lord. Blazing Angel Xian was a name that made many clans tremble in fear. When the Yuehua clan openly rebelled and colluded with the Northern Heaven realm, it was Xian who led the angel army to annihilate them. The hundreds of gods of the Yuehua clan were all killed, and even the 3 realms under their seal were annihilated. Xian had a faint smile on her face as she said softly, Elder Talon, your daughter Terralyn and my sister Xin are good friends. Please don't make things difficult for me. Talon's body trembled slightly. Yes, I will. I only hope that Lord Ruler can protect my daughter and let Terralyn return safely. Don't worry, Lord Talon. Terralyn is a future talent of the Western Divine Realm. I can't not cherish her. Then thank you, Lord Ruler. The leaders of the various clans all expressed their willingness to contribute their talents. Claude was full of smiles. This was exactly what he wanted to see. Xian, however, frowned slightly and remained silent. She seemed to have guessed that Claude was going to do something crazy again. Late at night, the meeting ended. Claude returned to the temple and brought with him a beautiful 2-winged angel. She didn't remember the girl's name, but Xian knew that she was Claude's woman. There would be new angels serving Claude every day. This was an open secret. In the sky, the stars were dim. Xian and Eva sat at the top of the Spirit Mountain, their 4 snowy legs kicking the clouds in the air. What is the Lord Ruler doing? Gathering so many people. Eva didn't understand. Someone else is going to be exiled, Xian said. Huh. Eva was stunned. It can't be, right? Does the Lord want to exile millions of divine kings and thousands of godly venerables to the celestial pole continent? What else? Xian's eyes were like water. There hasn't been any news from the celestial pole continent. The Lord is getting impatient. The Shattered Cauldron realm has already become a mortal battlefield between the Eastern and Western divine realms. Pray, Eva, that we won't be exiled. Eva. Chapter 869. On the 15th day of the 5th lunar month, after 6 days of a large-scale and roundabout battle, the 50,000 cavalrymen under Feng Jixing arrived at the Yunzhong Sluice in a grandiose manner. On top of the Yunzhong Sluice stood a fortress that had been around for decades. It was the Yunzhong Pass, and the purpose of Feng Jixing's trip this time was the Yunzhong Pass. Only by guarding the Yunzhong Pass could they stop the iron hooves of Long Ji's army from continuing to invade the south. Feng Jixing had no other choice. Raising her head to look at the towering fortress, Luo Yu could not help but furrow her brows and said, I wonder how long we will have to stay here. Until we have accumulated enough power to go on a northern expedition and recover our lost land. Feng Jixing's gaze was deep as he said, Enter the pass and pass down my order to take over the entire Yunzhong Pass. Send a letter to all the prefectures and prefectures of the Yunzhong province. Take in all those who have yet to surrender or have already surrendered, as long as they come to seek refuge in the Yunzhong Pass. We cannot let the hearts of the people of the empire be bitterly disappointed. Yes, Your Highness. The Yunzhong Sluice was adjacent to the ancient Cloud Road, which was the lifeline of transportation. A large number of iron hooves entered the fortress from the ancient Cloud Road. The general guarding the city was an old subordinate of Lin Muyu, who was once a Gold Star instructor of the Divine Temple. Now he had become a general guarding the city. When he saw Feng Jixing's arrival, he did not hesitate to hand over the city to him. To the soldiers of the empire, Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing were the two gods of war, supreme existences. Feng Jixing stepped onto the city wall and gazed into the distance to the north. Ignoring his weariness, he continued to issue orders for the defense of the city and recruited people to repair the city wall. After all, there had been no war between Yunzhong province and Lanyan city for many years. Much of Yunzhong Pass's city wall, which stretched for dozens of miles, had been in disrepair for a long time. If it was not repaired, it would collapse at the first blow. Leaning against the cold stone wall, Feng Jixing looked at the endless flow of the Daojiang River from the north. The current was rapid, and in the middle of the river, there was a constant stream of gigantic heads. These were the frost-armored horned dragons. They lived in the Daojiang River's Yunzhong province, and for decades, no one was willing to go near the Daojiang River. These frost-armored horned dragons were huddled together below the sluice gate, roaring. It was this huge sluice gate that prevented them from going south. If they all went south, then the southern fishermen and farmers would suffer a calamity. "Your Highness, do you have any other instructions?" Luo Yu asked in a low voice. "No more." Feng Jixing felt a little helpless. He frowned and looked at the rapid Daojiang. After a few seconds he said, "Luo Yu, how is the defense of the Seven Seas province? Feng Lan is not a good person. After taking Muyu City, the next step is probably Seven Seas City. If we lose the two great cities in the north, we will be the sinners of the empire, an eternal shame." "Rest assured, Your Highness. The Seven Seas province is temporarily guarded by General Qin Xiaoli. A few days ago he began to gather the troops of all the provinces in the province. Including the troops of the headquarters, there are at least 150,000 people. The mountain range between the Seven Seas province and Yunzhong province is easy to defend and hard to attack. With General Qin Xiaoli's ability, I believe there will be no problem." "Yes." Feng Jixing muttered to himself, "It's been a long time since I've seen Qin Xiaoli. I wonder how he is now." "That's right, send out the War Eagle scouts to search for the scattered Steel Blade army and bring them back to Yunzhong Pass. Send as many as you can. Also, send messengers to all the prefectures and prefectures of Heaven's Pivot Province. Order more than 70% of the prefectural army to come to Yunzhong Pass and await my orders." "Yes, Your Highness." "Wait. Is there anything else, Your Highness?" Feng Jixing pondered for a moment, then said, "Order people to rub 100 war banners with the word Qin on them and distribute them to all the divisions in Yunzhong Pass. I want the whole army to know whose army we belong to and who we are fighting for." "Yes, Your Highness, Your Highness." Feng Jixing could not help but take a deep breath as he watched Luo Yu leave in a hurry. It was a wise decision to ask Luo Yu to come over from Lin Muyu's side back then. Otherwise, how could he have such a capable general now? As for Zhang Wei, it was fine for him to charge and break through enemy lines. He had the air of a general, but it was far from enough for him to do some administrative work. The empire's military had always valued military strength over civil affairs, but there were many drawbacks. If the empire really did not fall after this war, it would be time to pay more attention to civil affairs. After all, the money and finances that Qin Jin had accumulated for so many years had almost all been used up in these 10 years. At this moment, the empire's treasury could be said to be empty and the entire country was exhausted. It was not until the afternoon that the voice of a messenger woke Feng Jixing up from his dream. "Your Highness, the remnants of the Steel Blade army have returned." "Ah." Feng Jixing flipped over and fell from the chair. He had not slept for 5 consecutive days and was too tired. He only activated his divine power when he was about to hit the ground. With a wave of his palm, his body floated up and he opened the door. He asked, "Who is back?" "Your Highness, it is the Steel Blade army that followed Commander Luo Exin out of the city to meet the enemy. They were led by Qin Yong, the commander of the right army of the Steel Blade army. After they were ambushed, they were chased by Long Ji's army twice and suffered heavy losses. They are now outside the city. General Zhang Wei asked me to report and ask if they should be allowed to enter Yunzhong Pass." "Alright, I will go over now." Feng Jixing stepped forward. A flash of lightning flashed, but he had already disappeared from where he was. He had broken through the void and left. Papa. Under the shade of the willow tree on the ancient path in the clouds, a flash of lightning burst forth. With a sway of his body, Feng Jixing appeared several lis away. When he appeared, Zhang Wei and the others behind him were slightly stunned. However, they soon calmed down. Everyone in the Imperial Guards knew that Feng Jixing was a divine realm expert and did not find it strange. However, on the ancient path, a group of defeated soldiers stood there in an extremely dismal and solemn manner. The person at the very front leaped down from his battle horse. His armor was no longer complete, and there were saber marks on his arms and chest, stained with blood. The battle saber in his hand was also filled with cracks, and his face seemed as if it had been smeared with blood. Qin Yong was a distant descendant of the Qin royal family. His ancestors were of the ancestral bloodline, but in this generation they were getting further and further away from the direct line of descent. As a result, Qin Yong was originally just a minor commandant of a province. However, this minor commandant had relied on his own capabilities to slowly climb up to the position of the Right Army's commander through his battle achievements. All troops, get off your horses and pay your respects to Prince Exin. Qin Yong let out a loud bellow, and the soldiers behind him, who seemed as if they had just been fished out from a pool of blood, got off their horses. They performed the Empire's military salute in unison, kneeled on the ground with their right knee, and placed their left hand naturally on their left knee. They lowered their heads respectfully. This was the Empire's military salute, and it would only be used when meeting with marquises and the emperor. Rise. Feng Jixing's voice was resolute and decisive as he said, perform the military salute. Feng Jixing am a soldier. Yes. Qin Yong stood up and led the soldiers behind him in saluting. They cupped their fists, holding onto their weapons with their right hands while their left hands covered the back of their right hands. They appeared respectful and mighty. Feng Jixing also saluted them. This was the respect between soldiers. General Qin Yong, how many more people do you have? He asked. Qin Yong's body trembled. Your Highness, when we left the city, there were 50,000 men who followed Duke Exin. Among them, close to 20,000 were my brothers from the Right Corps. After we were ambushed, we lost 50% of our men. I only brought 10,000 men with me and fought our way out. After that, we were hunted down twice 3 and 5 days ago, leaving only over 7,000 brothers. Along the way we lacked rations and many of our brothers were injured or died of hunger. I'm incompetent and over 1,000 of our men died of hunger. Many of our war horses have been slaughtered, but are there no villages or towns along the way? Feng Jixing said fiercely, why didn't you resupply rations in the villages or towns? Your Highness, Qin Yong trembled and once again knelt on the ground saying, I'm incompetent, but the Empire's military law states that we mustn't disturb the commoners. The villages and towns along the way have already been plundered by the Tianji Empire's soldiers. Many commoners have lost their homes and don't even have food to eat. How can I command my troops to plunder? Those brothers from the Right Corps who died of hunger would rather die than plunder commoners. Your Highness, please punish them. Good. Feng Jixing's eyes were a little blurry and his voice was a little shaky. Good job, General Qin Yong. This is the model of the Empire's soldiers. A year ago, His Highness, you reformed the military system and reorganized the military salute. The left hand holding the lid is the hand holding the soldier. The meaning is bravery doesn't cause chaos and strength doesn't violate the law. General Qin Yong, you are more qualified to be a soldier of the Qin family than Zhou Xian, who surrendered. What? Qin Yong was stunned. Deputy Commander Zhou Xian, he surrendered. Otherwise, Feng Jixing's face was cold as he said, Zhou Xian didn't resist and easily gave up Muyu City. This is a disgrace to the Empire and also a disgrace to the Su family. Qin Yong, I appoint you as the new commander of the Iron Blade Army. From today onwards, you will receive the scattered soldiers of the Iron Blade Army that have returned from Yunzhong Pass. The soldiers that we recruit will also be used to replenish the Iron Blade Army. Can you be a good commander? Qin Yong was stunned. In an instant he was promoted from the commander of the Right Corps to the Iron Blade Army. This promotion came too quickly, but he didn't have time to be happy. His heart was filled with revenge. He cupped his fists and said, this general obeys. Let's enter the pass. Zhang Wei, arrange a camp for the brothers of the Iron Blade Army. Immediately send orders to the Spirit Fire Department to cook. Let everyone have a full meal first. Zhang Wei cupped his fists and said, Yes, Your Highness. Luo Yu stood beside Feng Jixing and watched the defeated soldiers of the Iron Blade Army enter the pass. Her heart was indescribably heavy, just like Feng Jixing's. Feng Jixing had transferred the last 50,000 cavalrymen from the Imperial Guards, Longdan Army Camp and God Might Battalion to reinforce Miyu City, but he didn't expect this result. The result of 10 famous generals dying on the battlefield could be lost just because of a single general who surrendered. 3 days later, the remnants of the Iron Blade Army gathered from the mountains, fertile fields and jungles of Yunzhong Province. In the end there was a troop of 30,000 people. People couldn't help but wring their hands. The Iron Blade Army, which used to have 200,000 people, now only had this one person left. Praises like Northern Iron Lion, Empire's First Army, and Su family's mighty army, all became fleeting clouds. Chapter 870. Good news. Good news. The Warhawk scout flew into the meeting hall with a letter in his hand. His face was full of joy as he said loudly, Your Highnesses, Princess Shi, a report of victory from the Demon Clan's headquarters in the sky-piercing gorge in Ba Huang Province. Lin Muyu, Tang Xiaoxi, Zhen Yifan, and Su Yu all looked up, waiting for the good news to be read. The War Eagle scout was a young soldier, his face was still childish. Your Highnesses, good news. I know, read it. Lin Muyu smiled. Yes. He quickly opened the letter and said, Tong Tian Gorge. Qianfeng reported that Bai Minghuan personally led 100,000 troops to attack Tong Tian Gorge. The celestial race used 10,000 Southern Iron Cavalry, 40,000 human reserves, 3 giant flying snakes and 9,000 armored demons to fight the enemy for 4 days. Both sides suffered heavy losses and the flowing spirit army was forced to retreat. The army has already returned to Tong Tian City. Good. Lin Muyu was overjoyed. This was the only good news she had received these days. She clenched her fists and said excitedly, Qianfeng did not disappoint me. When did this news come? Last night. The War Eagle scout said, I flew back after receiving the letter. General Qianfeng also asked me to tell Your Highness that he thanked you for the celestial race's battle robes. Okay, I got it. You can go to the Spirit Fire Department and have a good meal. Yes, thank you, Your Highness. The soldier left excitedly. His joy was easy to understand. The Qin Empire had lost many battles, and they needed a victory to boost their morale. Although Qianfeng's troops did not win, they were able to delay the flowing spirit army's 100,000 troops at Tong Tian Gorge. This in itself was already a victory. Your Highness, don't be so happy. Bai Minghuan could not take down Tong Tian Gorge, so his next target is very likely to be our Luo River estuary. Zhen Yifan coughed and poured cold water on Lin Muyu. Yes. Lin Muyu didn't deny it. Instead she asked, How many soldiers do we have at the Luo River estuary? Tang Xiaoxi explained with great familiarity. All the major armies have removed all their cavalry and given them to Commander Feng Jixing to take away. Right now the military strength at the Luo River estuary is very worrying. The Longdan Army Camp has 50,000 elite infantrymen, the God Might Battalion has 20,000 elite soldiers, the National Garrison Army has 17,000 soldiers, and Ant Lien has 8,000 soldiers from the Zither Dragon Army. The entire Luo River estuary has less than 100,000 soldiers. After the battle at the mouth of the Luo River, the demon army from the Endless Forest had been reduced from 200,000 to 60,000. 3 days ago Tang Xiaoxi had ordered the demon army to return to the Endless Forest. After all, this was a war between humans. They couldn't let the entire demon army die. That would be too unfair to them. 800,000 is enough. Lin Muyu twirled the dry brush in her hand and said, As long as we don't go out, Bai Minghuan can't do anything to us. Is there any news from the other places? How many soldiers are there in each place? Su'er said, General Feng should be at Yunzhong Pass now. He has 50,000 elite soldiers there. Then there's Seven Seas City. Qin Xiaoli has 150,000 soldiers. Then there's Lingnan. The 70,000 soldiers from Mingshan province that Xiang Yu took with him should still be there. Qin Xiaoli. Lin Muyu smiled faintly. I didn't expect Qin Xiaoli's army to be the one with the most soldiers in our Qin army. Let's hope he can defend the Seven Seas City. Xian Yifun's gaze was cold as he said, the trader's Long Ji Corps is in Muyu City, which is less than 1,000 miles away from Seven Seas City. Their cavalry will be able to reach Seven Seas City in about 2 days. The Long Ji Corps has God state experts like Fong Lan and Lin Tongtian. I'm worried that if they carry out an assassination mission, Qin Shaoli's life will be in danger. His words were like a knife stabbing into Lin Muyu's heart. In reality, everyone could think of this, but the Qin Empire simply didn't have enough God state experts. Everyone knew that they had to protect Qin Shaoli, the Seven Seas Province's commander-in-chief, but it didn't seem right for anyone to go. After a while, Tang Xiaoxi bit her lips and said in a low voice, Seven Seas Province was Grandpa's land and it's also our Tang family's land. I should go. I'll leave tonight and should be able to reach Seven Seas City tomorrow morning. With me there, it won't be easy for them to assassinate Qin Shaoli. Moreover, I can command the Seven Seas City's army. No. Lin Muyu immediately rejected and said, I've seen how powerful Lin Tongtian is. Xiaoxi, you're definitely not his match. I can't let you take the risk alone. His concern warmed Tang Xiaoxi's heart. She smiled and said, But Mu, if I don't go, who else can? We all know that I'm the most suitable person to go. It seemed that Tang Xiaoxi had made up her mind to go. Then, let's send one more person. Lin Muyu glanced at the people on both sides of the table and said, Yang Yan, you and Xiaoxi will go to Seven Seas City together. The two of you must be together at all times. If the two of you work together, Lin Tongtian will definitely not be your match. Isn't it a little inappropriate? Yang Yan was a little hesitant. Why isn't it appropriate? A blush appeared on Yang Yan's beautiful face. Everyone knows how dangerous Seven Seas City is. Lin Tongtian is known as the #1 dragon rider of the Tianji Dragon Cavalry. If something were to happen to him, Princess Xi and I would both die for our country. Wouldn't His Highness you lose 2 women at the same time? How tragic would that be? Just thinking about it makes my chest ache. The corner of Lin Muyu's mouth twitched. When did you become my woman? Tang Xiaoxi and Chu Yao could not help but burst into laughter. Lin Muyu raised her hand and said, All right, it's decided. Yang Yan, you and Xiaoxi will go to Seven Seas City together. You must be careful. Other than that, spiritual scholar Su Hao. Yes. Su Hao bowed politely. What other heavenly tomes do you have? Prepare some for Xiaoxi and Yang Yan. With the help of the heavenly tomes, I believe they will be able to gain the upper hand. Yes, successor. I still have 2 divine tomes and 5 heavenly tomes. Give them to Princess Xi. All right. In the middle of the night, 2 figures turned into streams of light and disappeared into the western horizon. Tang Xiaoxi and Yang Yan had gone to Seven Seas Province. In the spacious courtyard, Lin Muyu was dressed in a white royal forest armor. He stood there alone with a trace of loneliness in his eyes. He also hoped that Tang Xiaoxi could stay by his side. However, the world always made fools of people and it was difficult to get what one wanted. The threats that Tang Xiaoxi and Yang Yan faced were not just Lin Tongtian, Fong Lan and the Dragon Knights. There was also the battle angel sent by the Heaven Realm. That 4-winged battle angel Dora. With Tang Xiaoxi's current cultivation, what would happen if she met Dora? The only consolation was that Tang Xiaoxi had broken through level 30 and comprehended the God's Wall with the help of the Demon Spirit Stone and the Broken Godhead. In addition to the increase in demonic power from the 9-tailed transformation, her strongest combat power was around level 50 Grotto Heaven. However, it was said that Dora was a 4-winged black-winged battle angel. An angel's wings could also greatly increase combat power. As such, Tang Xiaoxi was still at a disadvantage in terms of strength. Yang Yan had the strength of a god king. After recasting her godhead, she should also have the strength of level 50 Grotto Heaven. However, Lin Muyu had no idea how much she could help Tang Xiaoxi. He really wanted to send Wu Tong Jingjian and the others to the Seven Seas Province, but he couldn't. The threat that Lingdong Province faced was not only from Baiming Huan in the north, but also from the sea. Ever since the Blue Wind Sea battle, the coastline had been completely lost. The coastal cities were harassed by pirates every day. Most of these pirates were from the scattered mercenary groups of the Blackstone Empire. They were cruel and ruthless. Someone had to deal with them. At this moment, the sound of hurried footsteps came from the entrance of the courtyard. It was Wei Chou. Your Highness, there's news from Chongfeng County, north of Winterfrost City. A mercenary group from the Blackstone Empire has occupied Chongfeng County this morning. There are about 3,000 of them and they're robbing and killing everywhere. They killed the county governor, occupied the county capital, and even violated the 3 concubines of the county governor. Should we send troops? No need. Lin Muyu waved his hand. The main force of the Longdan army camp must stay at the Luo River estuary stronghold. I'll go to Chongfeng County. It's just 3,000 people. I'll be back tomorrow morning. Yes. Be careful, Your Highness. Do you need me to go with you? No need. You stay at the Luo River estuary. What about Wu Tong and Jingjian? This morning Your Highness sent them to Chiluo County to exterminate the pirates. Did Your Highness forget? Oh, I didn't forget. Alright, I'll go to Chongfeng County. I'll leave this place to you. Yes. Before he finished speaking, Lin Muyu had already disappeared. The speed at which he broke through the void was extraordinarily fast. Weicho was a little dumbfounded. After cultivating the ghost god lattice, Weicho had also stepped into the first sky of the immortal state. However, his ability to break through the void paled in comparison to Lin Muyu's. In fact, none of the experts that Weicho had seen before, including Chu Chu, Tang Xiaoxi and Ouyang Yan, could break through the void as quickly and quietly as Lin Muyu. Late at night, Chiluo County, a city on the eastern coast of the empire. The total population of Chiluo County was about 30,000. More than 80% of the city's population made a living by selling Chiluo conches. Chiluo conches were a type of giant snail with delicious meat. They were about the size of a fist and could be used as dry rations after being cooked. After the Blue Wind Sea battle, the people of Chiluo County no longer dared to go out to sea to fish. They didn't want to leave the city where their ancestors lived. However, danger still arrived. As dozens of large ships approached the shore, more than 3,000 mercenaries from the Blackstone Empire came ashore and killed more than 200 guards of the county. They had already regarded this small city as their own territory. In front of the county, a group of people were crying endlessly. There were about 5,000 people, but they were surrounded by mercenaries with torches in their hands. They were trembling all over and didn't dare to imagine what would be waiting for them. At the top of the stairs, a man in black armor with a saber in his hand slowly walked down. Golden light shone beneath his feet, making him look like a celestial being. He grinned and said, "Pick out all the young and beautiful girls between the ages of 16 and 25. Chapter 871. Cries and cries for help echoed in the crowd. Mercenaries armed with swords and knives entered the crowd and carefully selected. Soon dozens of young women were picked out and dragged out by a group of mercenaries. "Let go of my daughter. Let go of my daughter." The old father's eyes were bloodshot. His palms were covered in crisscrossed cuts, the result of long periods of casting nets. Every cut was filled with pain as well as the heavy harvest of the nets. Fishermen knew how to be grateful to the sea, but they didn't understand how terrifying the desires of animals could be. Scram. A mercenary walked up and kicked the father to the ground. The mercenary captain raised his warblade and walked up, the corners of his lips curling up slightly. His boots had already stepped on the old father's back, and the faint sound of bones breaking could be heard. The father's forehead was covered in sweat from the pain, but he still shouted, Let go of my daughter. I'm willing to trade my life for her." However, no one paid any attention to his screams or his daughter's helpless tears. "Draw your bows." The mercenary captain raised his hand and hundreds of mercenaries immediately drew their bows, pointing them straight at the commoners in the square. He smiled faintly and said, "My name is Song of the North Flow, a descendant of the famed General North Flow Lang, the current captain of the North Flow mercenary group. I've come all the way from the Blackstone Empire for the sake of making a living. Fellow elders, please take care of me, a person who has come all the way from afar. Men, bring out the name list of the prefectural city and invite the local nobles here." A gentle-looking mercenary held up the name list and said, "Salt merchant Su Gu, snail merchant Zhang Qian, brocade merchant Zhou Xian, lumber merchant Wang Lei, house builder O Yechi." He read out a long list of names, and Song of the North Flow's eyes swept across the crowd. Finally, the local traders pointed them out one by one, and the dozens of local merchants were invited to the bottom of the steps. "You are the salt merchant Su Gu?" Song of the North Flow lifted the chin of an old man and said, "I've heard that the salt merchants of the Shattered Cauldron realm are very profitable, and I'm sure you've earned quite a bit as well. Look, my army has come from afar and we need to redistribute our rations and weapons. This is a very large sum of money. Since the Qin army can't protect you, then we, the North Flow mercenary band, will protect them. However, you'll have to pay us soldiers enough tax. Men, find out how much this salt merchant needs to pay. Milord, you have to pay 10,000 Jinin coins. All right, 10,000 gold grim coins it is. Song of the North Flow sneered. Sugu, did you hear that? Immediately have your family prepare 10,000 soldiers as a tax. Otherwise, your head will be hung on the city gates tomorrow morning. Sugu's face was ashen. Sir, I'm just a salt merchant from a small city. How could I have so many Jinin coins? I don't have it. Get lost. Song of the North Flow sent Sugu flying with a kick. His eyes were cold as he said, I don't care if you have it or not. If you don't have 10,000 gold grim coins, prepare to be stabbed. Don't be afraid. I, Song of the Northern Liuhe, am also a descendant of a prestigious clan. I don't do such filthy things. Since I've come to Qiluo Commandery, I plan to stay here for a long time. You're also my fellow countryman. Zhou Xian, don't tremble. Explain yourself. How much did you donate as a soldier? How much do you want to pay for the soldiers? Zhou Xian was a middle-aged man. His face was ashen. Sir, I don't have any money either. Qiluo Prefecture is a small city, and most of the local currency is silver grim coins. Most people have never seen gold grim coins in their entire lives. How can there be any profits? Cut the crap. I'm here to talk to you. Do you really have to force me? Song of the North Flow grabbed Zhang Qian's collar and looked at the timid girl behind him. Look, we're fellow countrymen. I don't want to fall out with you, do I? You have a daughter? Zhang Qian's face was ashen. Sorry. I'll prepare 10,000 gold grim coins. Too late. I want 10,000 gold grim coins and I want your daughter too. From now on we're no longer just fellow countrymen. You're my father-in-law. Don't be afraid, stand still, ha. Song of the North Flow raised his blade and walked towards the third person. The crowd was already filled with the sound of crying. Stop crying. He was extremely impatient. Archers, if anyone cries again, just shoot them to death. Yes, sir. Before he even finished speaking, some of the archers who were as bloodthirsty as their lives couldn't help but attack. Immediately, a few miserable cries rang out from the crowd. Someone had already been shot through the heart and died. Fear surged through the crowd like a tide and everyone began to flee. Go back. The saber-wielding mercenaries began to hack and slash, and in an instant, nearly 100 people lost their lives. The citizens of the prefecture had never seen such a scene of heads rolling on the ground before. All of them were pale with fright, trembling as they returned to the center of the plaza. All of you stop. Song of the North Flow sneered. Don't start fighting and killing at the drop of a hat. I've long since taught you brats to win people over with virtue and virtue. Did you all turn a deaf ear to that? Continue, demand the soldier tax. Yes, sir. Mercenaries had crossed thousands of miles to the Shattered Cauldron realm in search of two things: money and women. Right now, Song of the North Flow wanted these two things as well. However, he boasted that he was from a prestigious family, so although he was much more cultured than the Blackstone Empire's regular army, he wasn't much better. When the girls who had been surrounded saw someone die, they couldn't help but weep softly. However, they were afraid of being killed, so they could only hold back their tears. Cry, 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 all you know is to cry. You've pissed me off. Song of the North Flow suddenly turned around and swept his blade across. Immediately, a red line appeared on the neck of one of the girls. Blood splattered everywhere and she fell to her knees. She had never thought that her life would end like this. Accept your fate. Song of the North Flow looked coldly at the crowd and said, the Qin army will soon be defeated. They've suffered crushing defeats in both the north and the south. Do you still place your hopes on the Qin family? Stop dreaming. The Qin family can't even protect themselves. Do you think they'll protect you border commoners? Ha! Obediently become my people and you might be able to live. The commoners wailed and the girls trembled. A living person had turned into a corpse in the blink of an eye. Fresh blood splattered on the steps, creating a poignant red. Lumber merchant Wang Lei, 10,000 gold coins. Song of the North Flow's voice was extremely cold. Wang Lei was an old man. His entire body trembled as he said, Sir, I don't earn more than 100 gold coins a year from selling lumber. Where am I going to get 10,000? How you do it is up to you. I don't care. I didn't. The old man trembled. You didn't? Song of the North Flow raised his blade again. Then I'll send you to the afterlife. Tears streamed down the old man's face. His voice trembled as he said, Ancestors of the Qin Empire. Your Majesty, Your Highnesses, has the world really changed? Who will protect the commoners? Who will fulfill the Qin family's promise to the world? You still think the Qin family will save you? Die, you lowly old thing. The blade sliced through the air, glowing with a faint golden light. Everyone held their breaths. They were terrified. The mercenaries were going to kill again. However, just as the blade was about to cleave down on the old man's neck, a powerful aura suddenly appeared out of nowhere. It was a spatial ripple that could shatter the void. A white figure flew over. With a clang, sparks flew everywhere. A person appeared before Song of the North Flow and the old man, grabbing the blade with a single hand. The night breeze blew. His back was to the commoners in the square. His white cloak swayed gently, and the golden-purple flowers on it could be seen clearly. Enough. Enough. He spoke word by word as he stared at North Flow Song. His gaze was incomparably terrifying, causing North Flow Song, a deity of the 21st ecclesiastical layer, to tremble uncontrollably. His gaze was filled with towering rage, which transformed into a killing intent that radiated outwards. The commoners were also stunned. They recognized the insignia on the cloak. It was the insignia of the Qin family. He's here, he's here. Everyone knew that their savior had arrived, but they didn't know who it was. Who do you think you are? Song of the North Flow laughed coldly. He suddenly flipped his wrist and the blade began to spin rapidly, shaking off Lin Muyu's grasp. It moved extremely quickly, and the blade quickly turned into 3 consecutive slashes that landed on Lin Muyu's arm. However, Lin Muyu didn't move. Clang, clang, clang. Sparks flew everywhere. The blade was knocked away by a golden barrier. Song of the North Flow was dumbfounded. That was a divine wall. A cultivator with a divine wall was at least a Saint Martial King. This plane actually had a Saint Martial King. In that instant, the confidence in his heart was on the verge of collapse. He hurriedly retreated and roared, "Attack together! Destroy him!" However, it was too late. The night sky suddenly turned deathly white, as if a layer of frost had spread across the ground. At the same time, a powerful domain descended from the sky, making it difficult for everyone to move. Even breathing became extremely difficult. Lin Muyu knew how powerful Song of the North Flow was, so she decided to end this with a single move. All phenomena of heaven and earth, heed my call. A golden elephant wheel appeared beneath Lin Muyu's feet. Elephant Whiteside. Boom. The golden elephant wheel swept past, directly tearing Song of the North Flow's body into a pile of flesh and blood. At the same time, Elephant Whiteside's domain power was fully activated. The invisible elephant art was activated, and all the mercenaries within range of the domain screamed as their bodies exploded and died. The pressure of the domain was enough to kill them. The other mercenaries all paled when they saw that the situation was bad. They all abandoned their weapons and fled. This young man was no longer a general of the Qin family. He was practically a god of death. In the blink of an eye, all the mercenaries had fled. Lin Muyu looked at the corpses of the commoners on the ground and knew that she had come too late. "My lord, you are. The house builder asked with a trembling voice. "I'm Lin Muyu." "Heavens!" The house builder knelt down. "Greetings, King Qin. King Qin has personally come to save us." The commoners and the girls beside Lin Muyu all knelt down as well. Seeing everyone like this, Lin Muyu felt indescribably uncomfortable. She said, "All of you rise. Leave the coastal cities and go to Winterfrost City. The army there is enough to protect you." The commoners all stood up and looked at the legendary King Qin. No one would have thought that the King Qin would be so amiable and approachable. However, the crowd began to cry. Those who had lost their loved ones also began to cry. Lin Muyu had the sovereign status. His EC was filled with the sorrow and blessings of the people. He could feel everything. What was a god? It was a gift of power and also a responsibility. Looking at the crowd, Lin Muyu slowly took a step back and knelt on one knee. She gave everyone a military salute and said in a low voice, "The Qin family is sorry for making you all suffer. However, I promise that as long as I am alive, I will definitely recover the lost land and return peace to the people of the empire. I will let the people of the empire live with dignity. As the sovereign of the Shattered Cauldron realm, King Qin was actually kneeling to her. How could anyone not be moved? The commoners all knelt down and their sorrowful cries became one. Chapter 872. A chilly breeze spread through the forest. Tens of thousands of citizens of Qiluo Prefecture, led by a commandant, left the city with their families and headed in the direction of Winter Frost City. Qiluo Prefecture could no longer be lived in. This small coastal city would soon be affected by the flames of war and would be repeatedly harassed by pirates. Staying here would only mean waiting for death. Sobbing sounds could be heard everywhere. How sorrowful it was to leave one's home. Everyone knew that leaving one's home was especially miserable. Who would leave their home unless they had no other choice? In the forest several kilometers away, the clamorous sound of horse hooves could be heard. It was the escapees of the North Stream mercenary group. Approximately 2,000 cavalrymen and 500 infantrymen had left Qiluo Prefecture in a hurry. Their leader, Song of the North, had been killed by an even stronger expert. This was like a nightmare that lingered in everyone's hearts. At this moment, these mercenaries didn't even have the time to carry the wealth and women they had plundered. They had already left the spoils of War City in a hurry. Vice Captain, are we really going to leave just like this? A man with 2 scars on his face gripped his saber unwillingly and said, "That person is only one person. Why should we be afraid of him? Everyone, let's attack together. I don't believe that we can't kill him. Vice Captain, even you are an expert with the cultivation of a Saint Martial Venerable. Why are you afraid of him?" The Vice Captain was a cold-looking young man. As he spurred his horse forward, he licked his lips and said, "That person isn't as simple as you think. Let's just forget about it. It's never too late for a gentleman to take revenge. Sooner or later we'll get even with him. When that time comes, I'll cut him into 1,000 pieces." The wind swirled and howled like a ghost. The galloping crowd was immediately startled. The cavalrymen at the front all stopped their horses in unison. Lightning flashed in the sky and a figure wearing a white robe appeared. It was Lin Mu. "You." The vice captain's face was filled with shock and he said, "Are you trying to kill us all?" Under the moonlight, Lin Muyu's handsome face appeared extremely clear and bright. He raised his hand and slowly pulled out the Ice Origin sword. His eyes were cold as he spoke clearly, "You've killed so many people in Qiluo Prefecture. Do you still want to leave Qiluo Prefecture alive? You alone want to kill thousands of us?" The deputy guild leader sneered. "You are too arrogant. Brothers, let's go. Archers, kill this idiot for me. Use the demon heart arrow." One by one, the archers quickly reloaded their arrows with the demon heart arrows. However, they did not know that although the demon heart arrows were the natural enemy of godly state experts, they were nothing to gods who had awakened their god walls. If they could not even penetrate the god walls, they would not be able to seize god power. Lin Muyu looked at the horses they were riding and couldn't help but laugh. A bunch of motley crew, but their horses are not bad. Nonsense. The deputy team leader sneered and said, "We spent a lot of money and effort to buy these war horses from the plains of the Thunder Flame sect. Prepare to die. This time no one will be sneak attacked by you." "Is that so? Release the arrows." The arm strength of the Northern Stream Mercenary Group's mercenaries was quite outstanding. One arrow after another pierced through the air, and even Lin Muyu couldn't help but be secretly shocked. She had seen the strength of the Pishio mercenaries, and in terms of combat power, this group of Northern Stream mercenaries was clearly a notch above them. It was no wonder that they dared to land ahead of the Blackstone Empire mercenary group and plunder the cities of Shattered Cauldron Realm. The golden wall of the gourd pierced through the air and blocked all the arrows. Meanwhile, Lin Muyu took a deep breath, raised her sword, and turned into a bolt of lightning as she pounced at the deputy team leader. She roared, "Die!" The light intensified and the starlight became resplendent. It was initial starlight. Furthermore, after cultivating the formless elephant art, Lin Muyu's attack aura became even sharper and bitingly cold. The moment she slashed out with her sword, the deputy team leader couldn't even move on his horse and had no way to dodge. The surrounding power of heaven and earth had already been completely controlled, and he couldn't even urge his horse to retreat. He could only block the attack head-on. When he raised his sword, he felt that something was wrong. Sure enough, the Ice Origin sword was bitingly cold, and with a clang, it broke the deputy team leader's sword. The sword light flashed and a head flew into the air. With just one initial starlight strike, a sacred heaven realm expert had already been beheaded. Heavens, the deputy team leader is dead. Deputy team leader. We will help you take care of your 12 concubines. The group of mercenaries was in chaos, and the archers forgot to continue shooting. They now knew that the strength of this sneak attacker was worlds apart from theirs. It wasn't something that could be changed by a few thousand people. Moreover, even the most powerful sacred martial supreme level deputy team leader had been beheaded. How could the others have the ability to resist? The deputy team leader is dead. Everyone disperse and run. Everyone suddenly scattered. However, Lin Muyu stood majestically in the air. She suddenly stomped on the void with one foot, and with a bang the ground turned deathly white. A formless and tyrannical domain aura spread out, making it impossible for the escaping people to move. Moreover, it was as if Lin Muyu's stomp had stirred up a storm, and the white ground was filled with whirling wind blades. If one escaped, they would definitely die or be injured. No one is allowed to leave. Lin Muyu was in the air and she shouted in a low voice, "All of you dismount." The group of mercenaries was dumbfounded. They all dismounted from their warhorses and knelt on the ground. The mercenaries in front of them all begged for mercy. "Milady, please spare us. All the evil was done by Song of the North Lioha. We were just trying to make a living." "I know. I didn't plan to kill all of you." Lin Muyu raised her palm lightly, and wisps of supreme godly power rose up. She said with an imposing aura, "Those who stepped into the Shattered Cauldron realm and killed people from the Shattered Cauldron realm, all of you step forward." Everyone was stunned and they all looked at each other. Lin Muyu couldn't help but fly into a rage. She said, "I've long awakened the power of a godly strategy and I can see through people's minds. If you think you can deceive me, then go ahead and try. But if I see through you, the consequences will be eternal damnation. I can even destroy your soul." In this day and age, it was impossible not to deceive. In any case, the cultivation of the mercenaries in front of her was very low, and they couldn't see that Lin Muyu was only at the 30th celestial layer. Even if she told them that she had awakened the power of a godly strategy, they would still believe her. As expected, nearly 200 people walked out of the crowd one after another. Their faces were filled with shock, but they didn't dare to go against Lin Muyu's orders. If they did, they would probably suffer even worse consequences. "Who did you kill?" Lin Muyu asked indifferently. A burly man carrying a battle axe said carelessly, "My lord, we didn't kill any soldiers. We only killed some worthless hunters and fishermen." "Why did you say they were worthless?" Lin Muyu asked with a smile. The burly man was a smart man. He said, "My lord, from your attire, you should be one of the commanders of the Shattered Cauldron Realm's Qin army. Although I'm not very familiar with the structure of the Qin army, I know that a commander must have great foresight. A hunter and a fisherman can only bring 3 to 5 silver coins and taxes to the Qin Empire every year, but it's different for the soldiers. The training, equipment, and supplies of each soldier cost a lot of money. So, we only killed some worthless commoners. Please forgive us, my lord. As long as my lord doesn't hold grudges against us, I'm willing to surrender to the Qin Empire." Unfortunately, he felt the wrong pulse. He didn't know what kind of person Lin Muyu was. "You only killed commoners, right?" Lin Muyu asked. Nearly 200 mercenaries nodded in unison. "Yes, my lord, please forgive us." Lin Muyu smiled. His handsome smile looked like the smile of a devil in the eyes of the others. He slowly raised his palm and said, "If you killed soldiers on the battlefield, I could still respect your dignity as soldiers. But you killed commoners. Just based on this, you are not qualified to be soldiers of the Qin Empire. All of you, go to hell." With a wave of his sword, countless starlight whizzed out. No one expected that Lin Muyu would directly end these executioners with a tyrannical 7 glorious stars transformation. Boom, boom, boom. Countless amounts of astral energy fell to the ground, causing dust to fly everywhere. The hundreds of mercenaries within the range of the astral energy were howling in pain. The astral energy penetrated through their bodies, evaporating their flesh and blood. Even their armors were completely melted. In the blink of an eye, not a single one of the nearly 200 mercenaries was left alive. What was left was a huge pit filled with blood and broken bones. Oh my God. The remaining group of mercenaries were dumbfounded. How was this the power of a god? It was simply the power of a devil. 7 Glorious Stars transformation was the unique skill of the 7 Luminaries Demon Emperor. Thinking about what kind of person the 7 Luminaries Demon Emperor was, he was a wanton and unrestrained demon. How could he care about the ethics of the world? He was born to kill. The 7 Glorious Stars transformation that he created was naturally tyrannical and filled with the aura of an expert. Moreover, if these 200 people didn't kill commoners indiscriminately, perhaps Lin Muyu wouldn't have used this skill. The divine power in his body circulated. Lin Muyu slowly sheathed the Ice Origin Sword. This time he felt much better. After stepping into the Divine King realm, the astral transformation only consumed half of his divine power. Even the backlash wasn't as strong. This proved that his soul force and divine power had greatly increased. Perhaps when he stepped into the Divine Emperor realm he wouldn't have any backlash when using the astral transformation. Looking at the group of scared Northern Stream mercenaries, Lin Muyu's gaze was cold. She said, "Now I'll give you a chance. I'll let you become captives of the Qin Empire. After transformation you'll become soldiers of my Qin family. Are you willing? If you're willing, stay. If not, leave immediately. I won't make things difficult for you. Go back to the Blackstone Empire. This isn't a place where you should stay." Everyone was dumbfounded. Very soon many people wanted to leave. "Wait a moment. Leave the warhorses behind. We'll walk." Chapter 873. Lin Muyu's voice was still cold. What he cared about was the warhorses. Feng Jixing had taken away all the remaining horses in the Longdan army camp. As a result, there were less than 1,000 soldiers in the Longdan army camp. This was not good. They urgently needed a large number of warhorses to replenish the cavalry in the Longdan army camp. The 2,000 warhorses in front of him were plump and strong. They were like a gift from the heavens. Everyone left the warhorses and weapons behind and quickly walked into the forest. When he looked again there were about 1,000 people who had not left. They guarded their horses and weapons and looked at Lin Muyu. One of the young soldiers said respectfully, "Madam, may I ask which commander of the Qin kingdom are you?" "I'm Lin Muyu." "What? Emperor Qin?" He was shocked and then murmured, "So it is the legendary Emperor Qin. It is not embarrassing for me to be captured by Emperor Qin himself." Lin Muyu smiled and asked, "Tell me, why are you willing to stay as captives?" The young soldier said, "Your Highness, I was originally a hunter in the mountains in the Blackstone Empire. My father was killed by mercenaries and I was kidnapped to the mountains to be a bandit. After so many years I have no one to rely on. Since your Highness is willing to take us in, it means that you think highly of us. Just for your Highness I am willing to go through fire and water. Are all of you the same?" Lin Muyu raised his head and looked at the crowd. Nearly 1,000 people knelt down and said loudly, "We are all people who have no worries and are used to living on the edge of a knife. As long as your Highness is willing to take us in, we will go through fire and water without hesitation." "Good." Lin Muyu smiled. "All of you, get on the horses and follow me back to the Luo River estuary camp. But you are not soldiers of the Qin family yet. You have to go through training and assessment before you are qualified to be called soldiers. From now on, you have to put away the hostility and arrogance you had when you were mercenaries. Learn to restrain yourself and take responsibility. That is how real soldiers are. Do you understand?" "Yes." Satisfied, I rode on the vice leader's mount. Even after killing the vice leader, Lin Muyu didn't bear to damage this horse. She had really put a lot of thought into this. Under the moonlight, almost everyone in the group was riding a horse, leading another horse as they quickly dashed out of the forest. With just the strength of one person, they had captured 1,000 surrendered soldiers and 2,000 war horses. Lin Muyu's heart was filled with joy. The harvest from this trip to Qiluo County was too great. It was beyond her imagination. When she returned to the camp, she could use these 2,000 war horses as the base, in addition to the war horses sent from Winterfrost City and Heaven's Pivot Province. With a little reorganization, she could at least form nearly 10,000 cavalrymen of the Longdan army camp. With a little training they could restore their peak combat strength. As for the 20,000 cavalrymen of the Longdan army camp taken away by Feng Jixing, forget it. Just treat it as a gift. Judging from the situation, he didn't intend to exchange it. After all, he was Feng Jixing. However, Lin Muyu also knew that it was really too difficult for Yunzhong Pass to resist the 100,000 Longji army camp, 100,000 wolf soldiers, and nearly 200,000 troops. At this time, Feng Jixing needed elite soldiers more than ever. If he didn't give him full support, the wolf soldiers would march straight in from the north. They would first attack Tongtian province and then Songnan province. Songnan province was known as the granary of the empire. There were thousands of miles of fertile fields, and the annual grain output accounted for nearly 40% of the empire. Songnan province must not be lost, otherwise military grain would be a big problem. At the thought of this, the joy in Lin Muyu's heart was immediately diluted. It turned out that there were still so many troublesome matters, and there would always be so many problems waiting for him to solve. His heart was so tired. But he knew that it was all worth it. That girl would return sooner or later. When he thought of Qin Yin, his heart slightly warmed and he really wanted to hug her again. All of this shouldn't be a fantasy, right? Opposite shore, celestial pole continent. The sound of war drums rumbled. 2 days ago, a group of people holding the flag of the Blackstone Empire's Gale Legion launched a sneak attack on 3 granaries of the Celestial Empire in the forest bordering the border. They set fire to them and burned them for half a day, causing the Celestial Empire to lose countless provisions. This action also caused a great deal of wrath within the Celestial Empire. No one had expected that the Blackstone Empire would actually take the initiative to launch an attack. To the east of the boundary steel, there was a vast plain that stretched for thousands of miles. The plain was covered with densely packed military camps. From the boundary steel of the Tianji Empire to the boundary steel of the Blackstone Empire, the Celestial Empire had deployed at least 1 million mighty soldiers here. In fact, rather than saying that they had deployed a defense, it would be better to say that they were ready to make a move and were accumulating power. The closest city to the border of the Celestial Empire was called Sweet Spring City. There was a temporary imperial residence built in the city called Sweet Spring Palace. At this time, all the royalty of the Celestial Empire were living in Sweet Spring Palace, waiting for an unprecedented war to break out. At night, the red-crowned crane lanterns lined up in a row in the Sweet Spring Palace, illuminating the long corridor. Maids carried delicacies and fruit trays in their hands as they slowly walked past. Tonight was a feast because it happened to be the birthday of the first prince, Xianxia. Birthday, more formal, not a term used for a memorial service. In the main hall of the temporary imperial residence, the lights were ablaze and the nobles were all gathered together. In addition, there was a group of high-ranking generals who had put down their weapons. The total military strength of the entire Celestial Empire was close to 1.5 million, and they were divided into 6 major corps and 21 minor corps. There were countless generals at the level of vassal kings, commanders, deputy commanders, and captaincy. Naturally, such a feast was almost overcrowded. Cough, cough, cough. In the host seat, Emperor Qinhai was leaning on the arms of a maid, coughing violently. However, he still welcomed the officials with a smile, drinking cup after cup of wine and tasting the delicacies. Qin Qian was sitting beside Qinhai, his face flushed, and he was overwhelmed by the congratulations of the officials. As for Qin Yu, he was the only one who came with a sword. There was a slight smile on his face, but it seemed very forced. At this time, an official with a protruding mouth and cheeks like a monkey walked forward and bowed to Qin Qian. He smiled and said, "Your Highness, this subordinate is the governor of Eastern Sun City, Lu Hui. My aides have traveled the world and found an agile girl in the mountains. Her name is Su Ling. She is slender and graceful and can sing and dance well. She is specially presented to your Highness. Bring her here." Qin Qian smiled. Yes. Behind Lu Hui, a young girl slowly walked forward. She was indeed a peerless beauty. Her body was slim and her face was beautiful. After she bowed, her voice was like the sound of nature. "This little girl, Su Ling, greets your Highness, greets your Highness." Qin Hai's eyes lit up and he couldn't help but smile. The beauty presented by Governor Lu is indeed extraordinary. Lu Hui was flattered. "Your Highness, you praise me too much. Today is the birthday of your Highness, and as a subject this is only my duty." Qin Hai laughed and said, "Come, bestow 10 bolts of brocade and 1,000 taels of gold to Lady Lu Hui." "Thank you, your Highness." Lu Hui hurriedly knelt down, his face full of joy. Qin Qian, on the other hand, impatiently waved his hand. "Su Ling, beauty, come to me." In the blink of an eye, the girl was already sitting in Xianxia's arms. This crown prince didn't care about the occasion at all. Perhaps the entire celestial empire didn't care about the occasion at all. Seeing Xianxia holding a beauty and reciting poems, Qin Yu's anger became even more intense. "Your Highness, please calm down." Behind him, Liao Yang said in a low voice. "Sigh." Qin Yu sighed, his face full of anger. "The enemy is right in front of us, and instead of maintaining discipline in the barracks, we are here at Xiaoyao's place. How preposterous." Liao Yang and the other advisors of the second prince were silent, not knowing what to say. This scene was the norm in the Celestial Empire. Emperor Qinhai and Crown Prince Qianxian had always been indifferent to court affairs, let alone military affairs. In front of the emperor's steps, the flattering ministers presented their birthday gifts, and the smile on Qianxian's face grew even wider. Finally, Qin Yu couldn't stand it anymore and stood up with his hand on the hilt of his sword. "My son Qin Yu, what's wrong?" Emperor Qinhai was the first to notice his son's uneasiness. Qin Yu stepped forward and cupped his hands. "Father, I have something to say." But his voice was almost completely drowned out by the voices of the musicians and singers behind him. Instantly, Qin Yu was filled with anger. He turned around and bellowed, "Stop! Musicians and singers, get out of here." His voice contained divine power, and it almost shook the entire hall of Oasis Palace. Qinhai frowned. "My son Qin Yu, what's going on?" "Father, I have something to say." "Speak." Qin Yu put his hand on the hilt of his sword and said, "The war at Shattered Cauldron Realm has reached a stalemate. The Tianji Empire's Long Ji Corps, Flowing Ji Corps and Tianji Dragon Riders have been fighting continuously on the Qin Empire's land. It is said that they suffered their first setback at the Luo River estuary and lost many soldiers. Within their country, only Zhang Qing commands the Lanji Corps and the Yanji Corps, a total of 500,000 soldiers. They are stationed at many passes on the border, and their military forces are very scattered. It can be said that the Tianji Empire is somewhat tired of dealing with the current war." "Why are you talking about war again?" Qinhai frowned. "Didn't we agree to only talk about romance today?" "But father..." Qin Yu didn't give in and said, "The war is like a raging fire and there is no room for slacking. The opportunity now is fleeting, and if we keep waiting we will only miss a good opportunity." Qianxian couldn't help but laugh. "Second brother, you are exaggerating again. Who's Zhang Qing?" "He is a famous general of the Saint Martial God level. When Zhang Qing is fighting we don't even know where he is. Moreover, Zhang Qing now has 500,000 soldiers under his command. Who can be sure that they can win against him?" Qin Yu was speechless. Just like what Qianxian said, Zhang Qing was a famous general of the present age. He lived for 67 years and started fighting at the age of 17. He had been fighting for a whole 50 years, and he had 84 heavenly caves cultivation. Who could say that they could win against him? At this moment, another official stood up and said, "Your Majesty, I think that what the second prince said is reasonable. The situation in the celestial pole continent is changing rapidly. We can't keep waiting or we will become passive. By then I'm afraid it will be too late for regrets." "Dongqing Wang, do you also agree with what Qin Yu said?" Qinhai asked. "Yes, Your Majesty." Dongqing Wang was one of the vassal kings and he had a lot of troops under his command. His support undoubtedly gave Qin Yu a big backing. Qin Yu looked at Dongqing Wang from afar, and his eyes were filled with gratitude. Dongqing Wang smiled slightly and nodded to show his respect. At this moment, Qinhai stood up and was supported by two maids on either side of him, preventing him from collapsing. After coughing violently a few times he said, "Since we are going to fight, then you, tell me, how should we fight?" Chapter 874. Qin Yu didn't express his opinion directly. He just said respectfully, "I'm just a greenhorn. I don't know much about strategies. Let's listen to the opinions of the generals and lords first." "All right, lords. Tell me, how should the Celestial Empire fight this war?" Qinhai said. Everyone was solemn. A trace of jealousy flashed through Crown Prince Qianxian's eyes. Today was his birthday, but Qin Yu actually wanted to discuss this in public. This was simply a slap in the face. He didn't give him any face at all. At this moment, another old general stood up and said, "Your Majesty, the fire element province of the Tianji Empire is located in a remote area. It's almost 2,000 miles away from Tianji City. The mountains are high and the roads are long. My informants have already found out that Zhang Qing has 200,000 soldiers in the East Peace Province, but only 100,000 soldiers in the Fire Element Province. If we attack immediately, we can reach the capital of the Fire Element Province in 1 day and 1 night. The Fire Element Province is rich in ironware. More than half of the iron ore of the Tianji Empire comes from the Fire Element Province. As long as we take the Fire Element Province first, the people of the Tianji Empire can only fight with our soldiers with fire sticks. The officials laughed. Qin Hai also couldn't help but laugh and said, Duke Tianyu's words are reasonable. Do you have any other opinions? As soon as he finished speaking, another old civil official stood up and said in a trembling voice, Your Majesty, I have a different opinion. As we all know, the Tianji Empire doesn't have many troops left behind. Among them, Zhang Cheng's troops are the most elite. Duke Tianyu avoiding the brunt of the attack and attacking the Fire Element Province is indeed a brilliant plan, but I think that instead of avoiding the brunt of the attack, it's better to gather the warriors of the 3 armies of the Tianji Empire and attack Eastcom City fiercely. When Eastcom City is breached, Zhang Qing the old dog will die. Our army first breaks through Eastcom Province and then we can directly attack Tianji City and capture Baiming Yuan the Dog Emperor. Once Tianji City is breached, everything in the Tianji Empire will be over. Duke Tianyu was so angry that his beard flew up. He said, Marquis Nanyang is a traitor. How dare you harm my lord? The Marquis of Nanyang was also angry. Duke Tianyu, how can you be so rude? Duke Tianyu said, Although our army is elite, our combat power is far from that of the Yinji Corps. Zhang Qing is even more cunning. You said that we should directly attack Eastcom City, but if we can't take it down after a long time and the 3 armies are exhausted, then Zhang Qing will mobilize the army of the Fire Element Province to attack us from the flank. Wouldn't all our efforts be in vain? You framed our army like this. If you aren't a traitor, then what are you? Lord Nanyang was so angry that his face turned pale. Tianyu Duke, you're slandering me. You old B*****. You old dog, don't talk nonsense. Dongqing Wang laughed so hard that his tears were about to fall down. Qin Yu also shook his head helplessly. Although the Celestial Empire was full of talented people, the real authority lay in the hands of these useless old fogies. After all, they were all ministers who assisted his father, Qin Hai. Many of them had once made great contributions to the empire, but they were all old now and no longer fit to discuss matters in the imperial court. Qin Hai's scalp went numb. He coughed violently again and said, Don't quarrel. Why don't you say something? What do you think? Qin Yu bowed respectfully and said, Father, I think we should not discuss how to attack the Tianji Empire, but how to attack the Blackstone Empire. Qin Hai was stunned. Dongqing Wang was also stunned. Your Second Highness, why do you say that? We should attack the Blackstone Empire instead of the most threatening Tianji Empire. What's the meaning of this? Qin Yu smiled and said, Uncle, the Tianji Empire still has Zhang Qing and 500,000 soldiers. Even if we attack them, it will take at least half a year to finish the war. But the Blackstone Empire is different. Their Marshal Bailey Qing personally led the army to the Shattered Cauldron world, bringing with him the Pale Flame Corps and the Sea Breeze Corps. There are only 200,000 soldiers left in the country. As far as I know, the Blackstone Empire has been in a series of civil wars recently. Many mercenary corps have begun to plunder and invade various prefectures. At least half of the 200,000 soldiers in the Gale Corps have to annihilate the mercenary corps, and the other half have to guard the 13 passes on the border. There are only 8 or 9,000 soldiers at each pass. If we can't defeat such an opponent, then we can forget about unifying the Celestial Pole continent. Dongqing Wang frowned and said, Your Second Highness's strategy is indeed shrewd and ruthless. But if we attack the Blackstone Empire, that old dog Zhang Qing suddenly makes a long-distance raid and directly attacks our capital, Laohan City. What should we do? Don't worry, Zhang Qing wouldn't dare. Qin Yu's eyes turned cold and he said, Maybe soon even Zhang Qing will have to go to the Shattered Cauldron world. Why? Qin Hai was also surprised. Why are you so sure? Qin Yu said, Because Lin Muyu of the Shattered Cauldron world won't be defeated so easily. With just Baiming Huan and 2 armies, I'm afraid Lin Muyu won't be able to throw away his armor. Qin Qian smiled and said, Second brother, don't brag so much that you'll lose your teeth. Lin Muyu is thousands of miles away on the other side. How can you be so sure that Lin Muyu won't be defeated? Because I've seen him and I know his sharp edge. This kind of person won't be defeated so easily. What? When did you see him? Qin Hai was shocked. Qin Yu smiled and said, Father, do you still remember that a few months ago Tianji Sec's Si Kongyao and Tianji Dragon Rider Lin Tongtian went to Laohan City? Yes, I still remember. The young man following Si Kongyao is Lin Muyu. What? Qin Hai was shocked. The Qin king of the Shattered Cauldron world came to Laohan City. How could I not know? I didn't know his identity at first. It was only after Lin Muyu and the others left that I realized. Father, Lin Muyu's strength, strategy and courage are far above me. How can such a person be defeated so easily when he has the support of the entire Shattered Cauldron world? Moreover, Lin Muyu has many capable people around him. Feng Jixing, Chu Chu, Tang Xiaoxi, Xiang Yu and the others are all geniuses. The Tianji Empire wants to destroy the Shattered Cauldron world with only 2 armies. That's a fool's dream. Lin Muyu is so scary. Qin Hai almost couldn't sit still. He said, if we attack the Blackstone Empire now, when will we attack the Tianji Empire? Qin Yu smiled and said, don't worry, father. Let the Tianji Empire and Lin Muyu fight. The fiercer they fight, the better. If Zhang Qing is really sent to the Shattered Cauldron world, then the outcome is set. The person who will unify the entire plane in the future will definitely be you, father. Then there will only be one emperor in this world, and that is you, father. Hearing this, Qin Hai beamed with joy. Good, well said. As expected of my son, Qin Hai. Qin Yu cupped his hands and bowed. Father, I request for military authority. Let me lead the army to attack the Blackstone Empire. All right. Someone bring me the 3-army tiger tally. The servant respectfully walked forward with the box. After opening the box, there were a total of 6 tiger talismans. Qin Hai said, these 12 tiger talismans are used to mobilize the troops of the 6 armies. The commanders of each army will hold half of one. The other 6 are with me. Only when 2 tiger talismans are with you can you mobilize the troops. This time the expedition. Wait a moment, father. Qin Qian suddenly stood up. Father, how can you be so careless with the military affairs of the country? Second brother is eager to gain merit, but in the end he is still too young. Moreover, father is already drunk today. Even if you want to bestow the tiger talismans, why don't you wait until tomorrow morning? When father sobers up, then bestow the tiger talismans to second brother. What do you think? Qin Hai was startled. Then he nodded. Fine. Tomorrow it is. Or wait one more day. Yes, father. Qin Yu respectfully bowed. After lowering his head, his face was filled with anger. Late at night, Sweet Spring Palace. After dismissing the attendants, only Qin Hai and Qin Qian remained. Qian, why did you stop me? Qin Hai asked. Qin Qian said, Imperial father, second brother is an ambitious person. Not to mention he's still so young. Even though he's rendered a great deal of meritorious military service in the past, he's still too impatient. Today it would seem like second brother yearns for power too much. If Imperial father really passes the military authority to him, would he still be satisfied with the authority before him after second brother conquers the cities of the Darkstone Empire? Can father be sure that second brother doesn't want to rule the world and stand above all? This, Qin Hai frowned. He is your little brother, our son. Qin Qian smiled. This son knows that Imperial father is a sage, but the temptation of power is too great. I doubt if second brother can resist it. In my opinion, it is better not to give second brother too much military power for the time being. This will cause him to lose himself. Once he really sinks into the abyss of power, what if he leads the army to turn against us? What can Imperial father do to stop him? Father can also see that the majority of the generals in the hall are on second brother's side. That can't be right, Qin Hai muttered. Can't possibly kill his father and usurp the throne? A man's heart is hard to predict, father. Even if he is your son, once he achieves great merits, it is hard to guarantee that he won't develop evil thoughts. I ask father to reconsider. This is all the son has to say. I know. Qin Hai slowly sat down. Waving his hand, he said, Go, I will think about it. Yes. The next day, Qin Hai promoted Qin Yu to the position of Vanguard General, leading 5,000 troops to attack the Blackstone Empire. In fact, Qin Yu didn't even receive a single tiger tally. When he received the imperial edict, he was so angry that his entire body trembled. He slammed the imperial edict on the table and circulated his godly energy, instantly tearing the imperial edict and the table to pieces. You want us to attack the Blackstone Empire with only 5,000 men? What difference is there from sending us to our deaths? Liao Yong was enraged. I will go find His Majesty and ask for clarification. Don't go. Qin Yu sat there dejectedly. His expression was stern. There must be someone gossiping in front of Father. Don't let me find out who it is. Since Father wants me to attack the Blackstone Empire, then 5,000 men it is. I will prove to Father that 5,000 men can also attack cities and gain merits. Second Prince, are you serious? What do you think? Qin Yu took a deep breath and said, Liao Yong, go to the Celestial Extremity sect immediately and send my regards to the sect master. Take my letter and ask for reinforcements. I'll send as many as the sect master can give. Otherwise, I'll be courting death if I attack the city with my official army alone. Yes, Your Highness.